It is funny that I've been on and off using mini-discs since I was 16, before this channel's first public video. By all account, it is a format that never took off, despite the fact that I lived long enough to see the compact cassette, the CD, the iPod, and even the global pandemic. Despite many technical advancements in the way that we listen to music, both throughout the mini-disc lifespan and up to now, the mini-disc has proved itself to be the perfect companion for portable music enjoyment without distractions. Let me tell you everything that you need to know. Starting with, well, what are mini-discs? These are it. These special magneto-optical discs hold around 160 megabytes of music and are enclosed in a protective square cartridge that slides open similarly to floppy disks. The format was initially conceived in 1992 to compete against the compact cassette and Philips' disastrous digital compact cassette, which unless you watch Tech Mod, you've likely never heard of. That's how well the format did. But since MiniDisc competed with the cassette, it needed to have recording functionality. Keep in mind that the first rewritable CD did not come out until 5 years after the MiniDisc had released, so Sony needed a plan. This plan was magneto-optical, like a cross between a tape and a CD, in the sense that the magnet essentially writes the ones and zeros and the laser reads it afterwards. With only 160 megabytes of storage, you may instantly think that you cannot fit more than 2 MP3 quality albums, let alone anything uncompressed. And sure enough, Sony had developed their own music codec named A-Track. Originally allowing for between 60 and 80 minutes of playtime, depending on the type of disc, the compression was later improved upon with A-Track 3, allowing for double the disc capacity with no discernible quality loss, letting you fit 2 of 3 full-length albums on one 80-minute disc with LP2. LP4 also quadrupled the playtime, albeit at a massive quality loss. You can tell which players can record and play back A-Track 3 encoded songs via the MDLP badge. Pre-recorded albums had also been released on the format, but with its poor adoption, as well as most record labels not being on board with the mini-disc, Sony quickly shifted focus away from trying to use pre-recorded music as a selling point, and instead focused on providing very small devices that you can transfer your CDs onto for portable listening. Especially with the fact that most Walkmans came with inline remotes that let you easily control music while on the go. Though that being said, Sony as well as the partners had released plenty of different devices. Not just Walkmans, but hi-fi component units, bookshelf personal stereos, and car head units. Sony's Vio division even stuffed mini-disc drives inside some of their PCs. And speaking of Walkmans and car head units, a big advantage of the small file sizes of songs was the ability to include a buffer. Every unit, no matter if it sat at home or in your rucksack, needed at least 6 seconds of skip protection. I even dropped my previous mini-disc Walkman twice and the music just kept playing. I guess that brings me nicely onto talking about my mini-disc devices, starting with my Walkman, the MZ-N510. This is actually my second unit, since I sold my first one for pennies when I had a 3-year break from MiniDisc. Despite this being Sony's entry-level model, it still packs some highly desirable features for anyone who is into collecting mini-discs. And no wonder, since it took me around 7 months to find one that I could actually afford. Although maybe it's just the fact that everything retro is now massively inflated and unaffordable. The first reason why this player is so desirable is the Type S chip. A-Track compression was of course handled by a dedicated chip, and the Type S was the best final variation of this chip, having the best SPN encoding that the Type R chip had, as well as the introduction of improved decoding on A-Track 3 on LP recordings. What does that mean in turn? Your music sounds great, whether you choose the best quality setting or the balance setting between quality and space. We also have NetMD. Are you sick of all these Sony jargons yet? NetMD players had a USB port that would allow you to drop your files onto Sony's proprietary software, have the computer re-encode those files onto A-Track, and send them directly to your Walkman to record. Therefore, you might be asking yourself, how did you record music before the introduction of NetMD? Well, let me take you to my other mini-disc device to explain. This is the Sony MDS-JE480, another budget offering from Sony. There's 2 reasons why I picked up this unit. First of all, it has the Type S A-Track 3 chip, which means that it has the best encoding and decoding of any of Sony's offerings, which is great for recording not only onto CD, cassette, even vinyl, but of course you can also plug in your phone via a 3.5mm jack, as long as you have an RCA breakout. Second reason I picked this unit up is because the seller had recently refurbished it with new rubber belts, which means that this should work for a very long time. Now let me very quickly show you how to record, because it's dead simple. Pop the disc in and hit record. Now this will be in pause mode, where you can check over your settings, for example the recording mode. We're currently in LP2, so we've got double the recording time. Then we want to pick a song and go to the loudest section of the song. For doing the recording level, which you have to do here, I don't think this has automatic level adjustment. It's a bit of a pain. Now I'll show you what happens if you set your audio too loud anyway. There we go. We've got a little light here that says over. If I change to any other display mode, it will say level over. Not good. We want to turn that down. Now again, just very quickly, you can with a CD player record via Toslink. So if I press input, it will say digital in, my CD player has digital out. So I could record that way. However, that introduces DRM, which no one likes. So the difference between digital and, just using RCA doesn't make really much of a difference. And also just using RCA means that it's easier for me to switch sources anyway, using my amplifier. Anyway, all we need to do is press play on the MiniDisc deck, press play on my CD player, and now we're recording. And I'll come back to you guys in 2 minutes and 58 seconds to show you what happens. Yes, despite the fact that I'm not using digital, I'm just doing this via RCA, the MiniDisc deck was smart enough to automatically switch to the next track. This is because there's a few seconds of silence between songs, and most decks, most Walkmans, they have that detection in place, which is super cool. If I stop recording, I'll show you all the options that you get. We can of course erase tracks, we can title tracks, which is an absolute pain, because you have to scroll one by one. It will take you absolute eternity to label 30-40 songs. We can move tracks, so that track 2 plays first and track 1 plays afterwards. We can combine and we can divide tracks. You get a little rehearsal. Is this the part you want to cut? No, not really. I want to do it at 43 seconds. Then you'll do the rehearsal, and you press yes. That's it, perfect. If I want to combine track 1 and track 2, yes, I can do that. Via the remote, we can also do fade-ins and fade-outs between tracks as well, which is pretty cool. Not something that I ever saw on Walkmans. The Walkman also has a line-in jack, for when you want to record via the 3.5mm input, or with optical. You also have a quick power-on mode, which stores your music in the buffer for up to 1 hour at the expense of battery life. This allows you to instantly resume your music without having to wait for the disc to spin up. When new, the Walkman could do 50 hours of playback and 15 hours of recording. But for whatever reason, I can burn through a AA battery within less than an hour of recording, which is a shame. But yeah, back to NetMD. While back in the day you had to use Sony's Sonic Stage software, which was buggy and had trouble with drivers on modern Windows, there is a new Chromium web-based applet called Web MiniDisc Pro that has all the same functionality as Sonic Stage and more. Since if you have one of the few supported Walkmans, such as mine, you can download music from the MiniDisc onto your PC via an exploit, something that was obviously never meant to be allowed. But yeah, to get to my overall point of why I love the MiniDisc, it's fun to put full-length albums or compilations onto the discs and just listen to them. No distractions from apps when you're doom scrolling on the bus. You can keep that phone in your pocket and enjoy the music. Furthermore, the limitation helps you to avoid choice paralysis. Before I leave work, I pick which genre of music I want to listen to, put the disc in, and that's what I'm going to be listening to for the whole day. No switching between playlists or going through endless menus of Apple Music. It's like my own personalized radio. Oh, and on a final note, as with the iPod, I use my Bluetooth adapter when out and about so I can listen to my Walkman on my Nothing Buds. Oh, and as I've just come to find out yesterday, Sony will be stopping producing blank mini-discs in February 2025. So after 33 years, the mini-disc is officially dead. You might be surprised to find out that Sony was still making them, since I spoke about mini-disc never taking off. Well, the format did decently well in Japan at the time, though just like the mini-DV tapes that Sony is also discontinuing, production of blank discs was at a point done purely to support the small minority of people who stuck around with the format. On that somber note, I want to thank you anyway for watching this video, and as for me, I've just managed to score myself some new old stock discs, and it seems that I may need to stock up while I still can.